And we're live.
Did I miss the cue again?
Hey, it's all right.
His
It's
squiggly
natural.
arm.
It's natural. It's what makes this fun.
Yeah. Hey, welcome everybody to the Bass University Live. Glad to have you with us. Excited to be back in studio, sort of, kind of licking my wounds a little bit after a rough day on the blue for me down at Bugs Island, Kerr Reservoir, down at the Bass Open. Challenging tournament. Interesting. We got the champ coming on. We've got Powell Kemp. He won going away. Really dominated that event. So we're going to be diving into that tournament, which I think is, man, it's like a total study, Riz, of pattern fishing, Kerr Reservoir. It's just, it's the epitome of it, right? It's points, pockets, trees, bushes.
Right.
You get them going one way, and you can run it the whole lake.
That you are absolutely right about that. That's the one big standout thing that I remember from being there is that, it is such a pattern lake. And for us fishing up here, a lot of where we fish, up here, whether it's on the Chesapeake or the river or, the smaller lakes around here that don't have as much to offer as far as pattern fishing.
They're more spot lakes,
more spot oriented, more, knowing high percentage kind of deals. When I went down there and realized, like, oh, wow, every single rock vein you can get a bite on, every single transition you can get a bite. It was pretty cool. It was an eye-opening experience. So it's going to be really amazing to talk to a guy with a vast
intimate
knowledge
of this body of water in this part of the country. And this was a complex event, guys. We dealt with everything. We had massive cold front come in. We had a tremendous wind coming out of the north, blowing 20, 30, gusts up to 40, I heard, but just massive wind, rising water. At practice, the water level was falling. And then about the second or third day or 2 days before the tournament started rising and continued to rise right through the tournament. We had the Roanoke River just dumping, just got millions of gallons of mud and debris coming down the river. And it really changed the complexion of this fishery. So being able to be consistent under those conditions is quite impressive. Looking forward to diving into all that stuff. So it's going to be a study of that, changing conditions, pattern fishing, shad spawn. It's a herring lake. There's some things that we need to talk about there. Which was the dominant factor in Powell's win? As the bluebacks have become such an important part of that fishery, a lot of fisheries in that part of the country. So excited about that. We're brought to you by we're coming to you from Tackle Direct Studios.
Oh yeah,
and we've got a lot going on. If you're watching us over on social, like and share the feed. We're going to be giving away a cool prize for that, as well as pay attention, guys. You know the drill. We're going to be asking a question at the end of the show based on some of the things that we talked about, and we've got a grand prize for that. Jocelyn, it's nice to have you here with us. What are we giving away today?
We're giving away for our like and share. Our sponsor, Waterwood Custom Baits, is going to be sending you a new Waterwood Custom Bait. So go ahead over to Facebook and like and share. And for our grand prize, we have a multiple things. It's Rapala DT10, which is different to say than 6. We have some Boom Boom weedless baits, and we also have some big bite baits.
Nice.
The fighting frogs up there. That's a bed fishing premier bait right there. Drew Cook, he gave us an amazing seminar on sight fishing, and that bait, the big bite baits, fighting frog and tilapia magic, is his key to that.
His only weapon.
Yeah, and he's got the rod tap going. He makes it shake and shimmer. So if you're somewhere where you're bed fishing, man, you want to win this pack. It's a good one. It's a good one.
I was doing my best Drew Cook impression down there this week when I had a few locked, and I was seeing how they reacted to that technique where you're shaking the line. It actually doesn't move the lure, or at least that seems to be my impression of it. Like you're trying to, it's almost making a sound. You know what I mean? It's because you're keeping a bow in your line and you're hitting it and you're shaking that fluorocarbon, which is getting down to that bait. You want to keep that bait on the nest. And I was using it. I was watching the fish go crazy about it. Want to invite you, if the fish are spawning in your area, I want to invite you guys to go check out Drew Cook's sight fishing seminar on bassu.tv. This is priceless. It's going to help you catch these fish. We've all seen him do it on the Elites live, and he teaches our Bass University guys how to do it. So get yourself subscribed. By the way, we've got an amazing offer going on right now. It's Crank It Up season. We're getting to be post-spawn in a lot of parts of the country, and it's coming our way soon. It's crankbait season. Get cranked up. We're giving away a pair of DT16s. By the way, I was using the DT14 down at Bugs.
Were you?
I caught some nice ones. I couldn't hold that pattern together for the Derby. It seemed like they were shallower than that with the rising water. But it is crankbait season, and we're giving away DT16s. We've got a Bass U T-shirt. What else is in that gift pack, Joss?
Oh, a face shield, Bass U face shield.
And a Bass U face shield for annual subscribers, and then it's a nice annual discount. Go get yourself, if you haven't signed up yet, go do that. Go do that now.
Great time to do it.
Great time to do it, guys. Can't tell you how valuable my Humminbird was for me this week. I'm using a Solix 12. I'm using Mega Live and Mega 360. Mega Live was just such a valuable tool as the water level came up, and the nature of the way Bugs is set up. There's so much offshore blowdown trees, stumps, rocks, so many things that are so. It's so important to have that kind of sonar technology to help you get your bait where you need to. So I want to give a shout out to them because they really helped me a lot during this week. But we have Powell Kemp coming on, the champ of the Open. We're going to be diving into pattern fishing, shad spawn, and whatever else makes that lake tick here in just a few minutes. So we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. Pete, one thing we got to hit on, and we got to say thanks to everybody that watches our show, listens to our show, downloads our show. We eclipsed 1 million downloads on Podbean this week. So that's a pretty awesome thing.
That is awesome.
To hear, that many people are downloading our show, listening to us on podcasts, and without everybody that's watching right now, we really wouldn't be able to do any of this. So thank you. We got a lot of guys on the board already. We got Tuck. We got the Wolf of Walmart. We got Zoltan Simone, Dylan Allen, Grant Noor, Nick Mayberry, Diggs, Mr. Higgs, Nico Dutton, Logan, Howie Range, JL, and many more. BKJ. What is going on? We appreciate all you guys watching the show. As always,
they're chiming in because I asked them how many of them fished a tournament this weekend. I'm gonna give a shout out to all of them because they all placed pretty high. I mean, Grant Noor placed 3rd this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Tuck, he's in high school. His sister and him got 5th in the local bass tournament.
Well done, Tuck.
Zoltan got 6th place in his kayak tournament. Good job, guys.
Well done, man. We've got some battlers out there. This is going to be a great show for you guys and everybody else because we had to battle a pretty tricky body of water this past week. So let's take a quick break, and we're going to be coming right back with the champ, Powell Kemp, winner of the Bass Open last week.
What's going on? It's Riz here from the Bass University, and I am excited to welcome in Waterwood Custom Baits to the Bass U family. These are custom handmade baits in the South Rainforest of Brazil. They're made of Marupa pedra wood. It's extremely dense, it's resistant, but it's also really buoyant. They're made of quality components with a 100% guarantee. They're made for tournament anglers to get it done when the money is on the line. Guys, that was like my 2nd cast with this bait. That's a Waterwood custom bait. These things are handmade in the rainforest south of Brazil. And I mean, as you can see right here, it's a fish catching bait. It's got the front hook. That means they wanted it. This bait's, it's running really true. It throws really well. Guys, check them out at waterwoodcustombaits.com.
leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. AquaView. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA. Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out doing a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worming series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
On the water, not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together. The One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Welcome back to Tackle Direct Studios. I got my cue that time, Riz.
That's right. We're dialed, man.
We're
You know, and Howie was just commenting on how consistent you were.
And missing the cues.
Yeah. Now you of course got it once he said it. You jinxed it, Howie.
I threw you for a loop. What's up, Howie? Always good to have you with us on Tuesday mornings. And hope your fishing's going well. I'm really excited. We've got with us today the champ. Just competed. I was down at the Bass Open this past week at Bugs Island, Kerr Reservoir, or as Powell calls it, Carr, and the guys from that part of the country. It seems like it has several different names, but the name of this game is the champ. He won in style, won big. And it's great to have you with us, pal. Thanks for being with us today.
Man, glad to be here. Good to talk some fishing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we love talking fishing, and man, you crushed them. We were talking a little bit about all the variables that came into this tournament, and I want to dive into them with you. But man, that lake was all over the place. It was down, it was up, it was clear, it was muddy, it was windy, it was calm. It was cold. It was hot. It was a crazy week down there.
Yeah, it was all over the map. It was a hard place to combat, and definitely the experience I have on the lake definitely gave me a little edge up. But I fished different water every day, so I didn't go back to anything. The guy the second morning, the camera guy came and he's like, "Man, can you tell me where you're going to start?" I'm like, "No, I can't." And I'm not being funny. I just don't know where I'm going to start. So I gave him a red dot, and I said, I'll be within a mile of that in the wind. So you can try to find me. That's all I can tell you right now.
Oh, man. Well, that's the definition of pattern fishing, right? You were just adjusting to whatever the weather was giving you that day, sounds like.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, I truly thought it would be a total shad spawn jam 'em fest. And it didn't really come about. I know some guys caught some on shad spawn, but I'd say, the whole time I was there, I might have saw 60 shad following my spinner baits. And that's typically on your first 3 casts, you see 60 shad following your spinner bait. So
right.
I think the cold air really checked that up. I think you had your last spawners coming in on the full moon that hadn't spawned up there yet, because our weather this whole year has been so up and down. The lake was fishing really good in March, right before the off limits. And, the bigger bags were coming in. It was, I think we fished one the weekend before the cutoff and had $14.90 and didn't even get paid. So bass really didn't get to see the lake show out, but they've kind of been in a funk all that whole April month. Looking at the tournament results, guys were, I think it took 17 won the second week. Actually, my partner won that in my hunting business. He had like 17, but he had a 5.5. He caught a lot of 2.5s, but the 4 and 5 pound fish were just kind of vanished for the month of April. I mean, 12 pounds was getting paid, and that was a whole different deal from March. But, when the guys got there for practice, I practiced Friday, Saturday, and it was low, 301.25, 301.40, and the fish were down. There was fry fish. The scopers, I think, were really playing a part, which I was not exactly happy about because I'm just kind of getting into that scoping game. So I did catch a few fry fish in practice on scope. Learning about it is really what I'm doing. But the tides changed and the water started to rise. And actually Sunday, when it was cloudy and rainy, I went and fished with my partner on Gaston to qualify for the Cat Championship coming up in a couple of weeks on Carr. So I had to go fish one more to qualify for that. And we were sitting there talking. I was going to leave at like 9 o'clock. And I was like, you know what? It's pouring rain. The lake's coming up like crazy. It's going to be a waste of time because I'm going to go jam them today, and it's going to change by the tournament. So I came up a foot that day. So Monday I went out and I spent 14 hours, from the time we could be on the water till the time we got off. Stayed out there all day, kind of got an idea, found a couple of stretches, a couple of flipping stretches, and had a couple of spinnerbait stretches. But they were, I tried to make the rock deal work for 3 days or the first 2 days on that Shad, and I just kind of gave up on it. It just wasn't happening for me. Everything was bushes, and I think that's because I was catching the last spawners. I was not catching a lot of fish like is expected for bugs the first week in May.
Interesting. So you feel like you were fishing around the spawn, what, pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn? Is that what you think you were catching?
I think I was catching the last bedders.
Okay.
The last ones going on the bed is what I believe I was catching. Now, the reason why I say that is prime example, first morning, rolled down the lake. The wind was blowing, I believe, west-southwest. It was hitting on that northern side of bugs. And so I rolled over to a really good shad spawn stretch that I thought I could get 2 or 3 bites. Went down the whole stretch, didn't get a bite. Got to the corner, and there's like 10 bushes in the corner. And I threw to the left of the buckbrush. And the male, I'm assuming, hit my spinnerbait but didn't get it. And then when I got that cast in, I threw to the right of the buckbrush, and there was a gum tree there. And a 513 come out and ate it, and that was the big fish of the tournament right out of the gate. And that kind of gave me some medicine to do what I needed to do. I knowing that the shad deal wasn't really happening, I thought that I could stay on that main lake stuff and my goal was 2 bites. 2 big bites is what I was hoping for in the first 3 hours on that stuff. I got one. I caught a couple of small keepers. I think I had 3. And I rolled into a pocket that the wind, because the wind was blowing 30, maybe 40. It was jamming.
It was.
So I pulled into one area, fished around, and I got to a little, I don't even know, a secondary, I guess is the proper term, but I would call it a thirdary because it was the very back point in a pocket, and it was just a very small point with some rock. And that was the only place in 3 days that I saw. Well, I take that back. That was the only place in the first 2 days that I saw a group of fish. And I caught 5 off of that, and my co-angler caught a couple. But they were sitting on those 2 or 3 bushes in the water, and you were catching them cast after cast, that you could just tell they were grouped up right there. Saw some shad there. But I think that was the first clue. Well, the 513 gave me a clue, but when things are going right and the Lord's blessing you, I threw my spinnerbait out. And I got a professional overrun, as we would call them, and I was picking it out. And when I got it completely out and tightened down, I had a 4.5 pounder on my spinnerbait. She had it the whole time.
Come on.
So I'm telling you, man, I've said it the whole time that the Lord blessed me. But if everybody knew exactly how it went down, they'd know it wasn't, it looked easy, but it was not easy. And things just went exactly right. Never lost a fish in 3 days that mattered. I might have lost a small one. I don't remember, but I never lost those ones that matter.
Me and Ike talk about it all the time. It's like when it's going to happen, it's weird how weird things happen when you're going to get into the winner's circle like that professional overrun. I don't know what that is. I never get those. But
you're the man is all I can say.
What? All right, wait a minute. I've been at Bass U. I've listened to the greatest spawning fishermen in the world. Advanced knowledge in this area. Not one of them picks up a spinnerbait to catch spawning fish. What is up with Bugs Island, or how? What do you think allows you to be able to catch spinnerbait fish when those fish are spawning?
Well, I guess I've been at this game for quite a while, but Bugs is probably the best spinnerbait lake that I've ever set foot on anywhere I've ever been. And I don't know why they are like that, but it's been that way since the minute I set foot on that lake when I was 17 years old.
No kidding.
They've always liked the spinnerbait. But the only way I can think about it is you see a lot of guys on TV, the famous guys, and they catch big females on a swim bait. Well, to me, it's no different if you're in the blowing wind and that female, the male's on the bed and the female's still there where she hasn't left yet. And that bait comes by her and she's like, oh no, you're not getting this. And most of it, I had to contact the bush. I had to slam into the bush. And as soon as it come out and started tracking again, they come out of the bush and eat it, or off a gum tree. That's just my belief. I could be dead wrong. But I do believe no matter what, they were very close to postpone the females that I caught because they were skinny. Now, the ones I caught up the lake, I don't know that they were spawning fish. I think they were feeding shad fish. But down the lake, the way you would fish a mile and only get 2 or 3 bites on stuff, and where they were sitting in little cuts, obviously when they started pulling that lake, the fish really started biting on the points. But they were your males that probably did it in April. They were your feeding fish, your shad fish that were pulling out to the points like they're supposed to when Carr drops. Carr is known for, you can whack them today in the pockets and they turn that water around and they're going to go to the points. You can slam, put everything you did the day before and put it in the box because it's not going to work. Throw it out.
Well, I wrote the book on that this week down there. It's funny because I was finding them in a lot of areas. You could see them, and with the full moon coming, and I had pockets that were just populating it right in front of me, like you could just almost see the fish pulling in, getting ready to spawn, and man, like a light switch, they evacuated so many different areas that I was fishing in. And I seem to be left with the ones that had committed to spawn or were guarding fry. And I found myself scrambling, to even catch a limit down there, where coming up to the tournament, I thought it was going to be, easy to get 15 to 25 bites a day. So it's amazing. Like you said, it's very dynamic. I mean, I never thought a cove full of spawning fish would evacuate. I guess they just didn't like that one. They went to another cove and they probably did their business there.
No, those fish are renowned for, and I believe it, when the water comes up, I would say those females went, even though the air, the water temperature was right, the air was cold, and that's what was really keeping everything kind of back. If the air had not been cold overnight, you would have caught your 25 fish a day. But I think the shad stayed out. I know I talked to some guys that were up there that fished the tournament. I mean, Clark Ream was one. He was fishing rock piles out in 6 to 8 foot of water, shallow rock piles, and he was jamming them, and the water came up, and he still kept jamming them. But I think those shad pulled back, and then the longer that water stayed up, the more the big ones just they follow the water on that. And I think, Monday, I get my days confused, but Monday when I was out there for the 14 hours, I had 2 flipping stretches that I found that they were loaded on. One of them I had probably 16 bites on, and the other one I had probably 8 bites on. And when I rolled back in there the last day of the tournament, I hadn't fished them until then. And when I rolled up, you could see the males still sitting on the buckbrush. They were there, but the females were gone. And, I just believe that the lake came up Sunday morning. It started really coming. It started coming up Saturday evening, but I think Sunday morning in those clouds and rain, they rolled up. The females laid their eggs. And by the time we started the tournament, the females were steady, starting to get out of there. When that water starts dropping, they get their eggs laid and they stay around a day or two, and then they get out of there. And the males stayed. And that's why you caught a lot of buck bass.
Yep.
Or I caught quite a few buck bass on the final day. And once I could see them, because when I found them in practice, it was almost 304. And by the time I fished them in the tournament, it was 303. So it'd come a foot off of them. And I mean, I saw them garden fry and sitting on bed. And when you flip in a buck brush and you jig it up 4 or 5 times and it grabs it, you can just about guarantee that's a bedded fish. It's not a feeding fish, because he would have bit it when you flipped it in there. But
well, where were your bites? Where did you win this tournament? Were you said you were fishing like a secondary point back in a pocket where you found a group, but mainly were you on secondary points? Were you out on the primary points? Where were your big fish coming from?
I started on the main both mornings, but the first morning I started on the northern side of the lake, and that's where I caught the big one. But like I said, she was in a little cut, but it was still kind of main compared to the wind that gets the massive amounts of wind. Stayed on the main, but like I said, it wasn't really happening too good. But if you put the trolling motor down and kept, now the first day was challenging because of the 30-mile-an-hour winds, and I was down at the dam, and when we left out of there, it was probably 3-footers at least. I mean, it wasn't the worst I've ever seen, but it was pretty tight. And we put the bow straight up and ran 30 miles an hour to Nutbush, and then turned and went up Nutbush, and it was pretty brutal. But the first day I fished the north side of the lake around the dam and never went past county line, for guys that are familiar with the lake. Part of that was because I couldn't move around very fast. So the second day, I concentrated where the wind hit the hardest, because I knew that it hadn't got the pressure.
Yeah, that's smart.
So that's where I went. The first morning I started, the second morning I started where I was going to start the first morning, but the wind was supposed to be north-northwest, and it was west-southwest on the tournament morning. So I adjusted and went to the other side. The second morning I started on my original starting point, caught a short fish where I expected to catch a fish, went to another point on rock, again, trying to make it happen. No bites. Saw a buckbrush way down in the corner, rolled down the bank, threw in the buckbrush. There's a 2 1/4 pounder keeper, kind of chilled me out. Went to 4 or 5 points that are really good shad spawn this time of year points. And I fished a half a mile just in and out between the points and everything. And I caught 2 little keepers. I said, well, this didn't happen, so let me go back. I ran on back towards Satterwhite, started fishing some stuff back there, knew that there was more people fishing that way. But I got on a stretch where I normally would pull up in 4 or 5 points. You just hit the 4 or 5 points and you leave. I was just trolling motor down, going down between it. And I didn't get a single bite on that whole stretch. And I got to the last 3 bushes on that bank, getting ready to be like, well, the spinnerbait deal's over. And I threw on the second to last bush and caught one pushing 5. And so that was like, well, maybe the spinnerbait bite isn't over. So I ran 4 or 5 more rocky places going down, never got a bite, trying to make it happen. And then I filled out my limit and called a couple of times with 2 2.25s where they had come out of those pockets and they were starting to sit on the bushes that were on the point, the bushes that had more water on them, in some pretty big lots of bushes, not just individual bushes on that deal. So I caught, throw back through the willow, gums, buckbrush, and it just be coming out, and one come out of one of those pieces of structure and grab it. Called those out pretty good. Then went and caught a couple flipping, and second day decided I'm out of here. I'm headed back up the lake. I always get worried about breaking down or batteries or anything going wrong, so
spinning a hub.
Spinning a hub, I carry a marine supply store in my boat because I think it's all happened to me before. So if I could carry a spare Mercury 250 on there, I would, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. But so something told me to go back to Island Creek. I rolled to Island Creek. I went in there, fished one pocket. There was a bunch of boats in there. It really was crazy. It looked a little too clear to me for what I wanted to do, even though the nutbush end was crystal clear. So I rode out on the main lake, messed around on some stuff, pulled up on one point, fished the windy side of the point. Probably spent 30 minutes on a point just throwing 3 or 4 times to every gum tree, buckbrush, willow bush, whatever was there, just making sure I'd cover all the angles.
Yeah.
Which comes back to a spawning fish.
Right.
Angles are key, whereas feeding fish tend to wheel it by the bush and they come out and crush it. But anyway, I got right to the end of the point. I threw over there, and I still believe it was a guard. It came after my spinnerbait, and I threw back over there anyway, and I got about 20 foot past where the guard struck it, and a 4.5 pounder ate it, and I put her in the boat, and I was like, well, there it is. And so that was the second day. I put all my rods below deck. I've probably told the story, but I'll tell you guys. Rolling back to the ramp, I'm like, well, I got 40 minutes before check-in. I said, if I go in now, my fishing crowd, Scooter and Michael, they're going to just trash me for giving up 40 minutes early, giving away fishing time.
Yep.
And anyway, so I pulled out one bait, and I think it was one of the ladies that was fishing the tournament. She was literally picking her trolling motor up, headed to check-in, and I pulled in where she stopped and started coming back this way. And I had what I think was a big one eat the bait, but the slack just went in the line. I didn't get a hookup on her. And then I caught 2 or 3 little small fish, and I'm like, this is just crazy. And I caught another one and culled a 1/2 pound. So I was like, okay, I'm done. Now I'm only going in 15 or 18 minutes early, so we're okay with that. Put the rod below deck, culled out, ran in, weighed in. And so the moral of that story was that night I got to the trailer I was staying at, and I said, I hadn't really been jamming them in the morning, so let me just start right here, give it 15 minutes. 15 minutes ain't going to cost me anything from what I've been doing every morning. I mean, one morning I didn't get down there for an hour after, being about 180 or whatever I was. And
you're talking about just starting real close to the takeoff.
I started about 400 yards below the off limits area.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through that little cut in the bank where I had the bites the day before and nothing. I'm like, well, it was a flog, as we like to call it. I was like, it's an afternoon deal, if anything. So I'm headed out, the camera boat's out there. The guys that are following me are out there. I'm sure they're all wondering what I'm doing, because I know a couple of them are locals, and they're like, this guy ain't fishing up here. And so I go out, and I make the last cast across the point. There's one bush right there, and I catch a 2.5 pounder and put her in the boat. And I'm like, okay. So I went down the bank, and I think in the next 9 minutes I caught 4. I mean, it was just like bam, 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 bam. And I'm like, all right, one more, and I'm going to have, giving them a problem. And I caught one more keeper to give him my limit and relieve the stress, because my biggest fear was a 7.5 pound lead, and I go down there and I don't even catch a fish. Because in fishing, I promise you, it can happen. I don't care who you are, how good you are, it can happen.
And if you don't have that limit, or have the demons start creeping in on you.
Exactly.
And it gets even worse.
I already, since the first day, felt like I could throw up for 2 days. So The demons were roaring inside of me. But anyway, I caught that one, and I went about 30, 40 minutes, and then I caught a 3.5 pounder on that same, farther down the bank. Put her in the boat, caught out that little one, and I kind of knew right then it was over. There was only 2 guys that could even have really a true chance to catch me at that point in time, and they were going to have 19 to 20 pounds. So I felt like that was going to be, that's tough to do on this. Like, I caught 19-13, but it was a gift catching a 5-13, the biggest fish of the tournament. So they were going to have a sack. And look, David Williams made a heck of a run at me. He jammed them good. He just had a tough first day, or you'd be probably talking to him for this tournament if he hadn't had such a tough first day. But, I had a dream the night before that I never left sight of the Clarksville Bridge for the final day. And I hit 2 or 3 things after I had my limit. I was feeling good. I didn't get any bites, and I kind of was like, you know what? I said, I'm never going to forgive myself if I don't run down there and I get beat, if I don't go check those flipping stretches, because I had not fished them in 2 days. So a buddy of mine, he was following me up there, so it kind of gave me, I said, it's 9 o'clock or 9:15, whatever time it was. I said, if I run down there and give it 2 hours, worst case scenario, he can throw me a rope and tow me back to the ramp by 3 o'clock. So,
right.
I don't know, and it ended up, I didn't call anything down there. Everything I weighed in that final day came right there at the start. So I caught a bunch of fish. And about 12 o'clock, I went into the slam the trolling motor down 2 cast mode, and I ran about 15 willows on the way back and caught 10 or 12 fish, but they were all just little ones. I didn't catch one good one that I felt like one more 3 to 5 pounder, I could yell to the lungs and say ball game, but I never 100%, got to that point. But I guess everything we did was, you couldn't do it any better. So I don't second guess what happened. And the Lord guided me and my boat to everywhere I needed to be.
Man, those are some great adjustments. The thing that people don't really realize that are listening is these areas close to the launch ramp, they were horrible looking. Like that, there was zero visibility. I mean, that Roanoke was raging with mud and floating debris in comparison to where you had been catching them the previous 2 days. This was night and day water conditions.
Completely different situation. And I think I got to add, the creeks were staying pretty, relatively good looking water on the upper end of the lake. And I realized that on the first day, I came in at 3 o'clock. My check-in was at 5 o'clock. So I went in the creek behind where we launched from and picked up a big spinnerbait, and this another, meant to be type situation. I threw, and I was actually having a really good casting few days, very accurate, getting it where it needed to be. And I made a cast, and I was off by probably 10 feet, and I'm kind of winding it back like, yeah, that's a wasted cast. And my whole entire spinnerbait just disappears, and I catch a 360 and cull out for another half a pound. I mean, I came in there with like 18 and a half and almost 19, but I culled that fish and gave me another 19. But I caught like 7 or 8 fish in there, and I was like, they're just biting up the lake. And I think that's what made me want to come back up there the second day. But that red mud was definitely keeping the boats from fishing it. But it cleared so much, comparatively speaking, to what we started with to that third day. I mean, she really, clear is a relative term, but compared to the chocolate roll, the red rolling mud, she got back where you had a visibility of 8 to 12 inches, whereas it was no inches. But I think that's where I put on a little bit bigger thumping spinnerbait, and I think she that's why you could get bit there.
Do you have the spinnerbaits in question with you?
Yeah.
Can you show us what you were working with?
So on the lower end of the lake, I was throwing this is a hog collar with smaller blades.
Put that up full screen, Rich.
On a I don't know if y'all can see it, but it's on a Lew's Hypermag speed spool reel, 8:3-to-1 gear ratio. I put it on 20-pound extra strong P line. So I had about 5 different spinnerbaits tied on, but the only thing I can 100% say is every single one of the fish I weighed in, I'm 99% sure every one of them, as I look back in my brain, were spinnerbait fish. I think I got rid of all my flipping fish.
Wow.
And culling. So, and then up the lake, I was throwing same Lew's 8:3-to-1, but I was throwing this little bit bigger golden spinnerbait, chartreuse and white, and on 20-pound extra strong. So every morning I left with basically 6 rods on the deck. The first one I left with 3 flipping rods and 4 spinnerbaits. And then the rest of the time I had 1 flipping rod and 5 spinnerbaits on. And I had them ready to go under the deck. I mean, if the spinnerbait had stopped, I'd have put the spinnerbaits up and pulled all the flipping baits out. But I had one there, and I had I did keep a Cinco. Everybody knows about a Cinco on Lew's medium action rod, mock crush reel. Had that if one did swirl it or whatever, had that ready to go and throw back in there and fry fish or whatever you wanted to do. But that was the setups. But I think everything I weighed in came off spinnerbait. Best I can tell.
Lock that spinnerbait in your hand. That was a great move.
Our subscriber Jacob wants to know: did you try a vibrating jig, or did you just go with the spinnerbait and roll it?
Lipless. Because I saw some other guys mixing a lipless in there. Did you at all?
So the first morning, I'll tell you exactly. The first morning I left with 3 spinnerbaits on the deck, a chatterbait on the deck, and 3 flipping rods on the deck. So the chatterbait's always one to me. It plays up there. It tends to be later in the day as they move down. You can do a little bit better with a chatterbait than a spinnerbait, unless it's cloudy. I mean, if it's cloudy, then you can do it all day. But the blade bite tends to be an hour and a half in the morning. Then you got to go to the chatterbait. And if the wind will keep blowing, everything will keep biting. But I did have one on. I caught it, and I had caught one on a swim jig, but they were smaller fish. But it was, you can't say that what the bait was. It was what I put in my hand and kept locked in it for. If there was 24 hours in the tournament, that spinnerbait was in my hand 22 and a half of them. So
yeah,
obviously, but I think it was more. I believe some of those fish would have hit whatever came by them, but most people would not have fished it, and I didn't practice it, or I may not have fished it because it was so slow, spotty bites that you wouldn't think, oh, I'm on them, because it's like one bite on a mile. I mean, who's going to do that after they practice it? So, I mean, having the knowledge and knowing where the big ones stay and tend to catch them, it kind of helped me because I was willing to stay out there and get one bite because I felt like it'd be the right bite. And going into this tournament, I felt like, and I told Scooter and Michael both, I said, I need 2 5-pounders in 3 days, and I need to put them in the boat. And we ended up with definitely 2 5-pounders, 2 4.5s, and I had 4 big ones, and that put it, did the deal. But most of the time, it always seems to be when we win or do really well up there, you put that 5-pounder in the boat. It's 1 5-pounder. That's what you get to bite out of 40 fish. And if you lose her, there was your chance at winning. And, it just that my nerves were right with no net because like the 513, I could have got her 4 times with a team partner in the net, but there was nobody there. And my heart was palpitating. I was just trying to get my hands on her, and I grabbed her. I probably broke her jaw when I grabbed her when she finally calmed down and got up. It's something I probably need to work on more because I fished so many team tournaments and fished a lot of, FLW events, and it's all net. So you don't play with them to figure out what to do. And then you're practicing, you flip 4-pounders in the boat. You don't even think about it. But it was definitely a little bit interesting deal. By the second day, I learned I moved my rods to one side of the boat. So my big self could get on the deck and get my knees down without breaking all my rods and grab the fish better. So it was just a little bit of a learning experience. So.
Well, that's a great way to learn on the fly like that. The landing a fish is a skill unto itself, hand landing a fish, no doubt. But it brings me to a question. Were you using a trailer hook? I didn't notice one, but that bait was moving fast. Were you?
Yeah, they both have. I had number 2 Gamakatsu trailers on them both. Yeah.
Okay.
But I remember digging the trailer hook out of a couple of them, but I can't remember if they had the front hook. But I always run a trailer hook up there. It's just what we do. We run them because it will get you 1 or 2 more. And it's a little aggravating with the bush, but it's trading off. Do you want to lose the 1 5-pounder you get to bite, or do you want to keep her? I know that the 4.5 I caught up the lake that second day. I remember for sure the trailer hook had her on the outside of the mouth, and she dug around, went crazy, jumping. But there was something that rarely ever happens to me in tournament fishing. There was a calmness when that fish was going crazy that I never even 1 second thought she was going to come off. And that's just, the man upstairs, I believed, I was like, it's meant for me to catch this fish. I'm going to catch this fish. I'm not even worried about her jumping off, where normally I'm breathing heavy, yelling at my partner, get the net, don't knock it off, going crazy. And I remember that feeling on that fish. She's out there just jumping. I'm like, she's not going to come off. Just bring her in. And I did kind of still do a little bit of the belly old throw her over my head type deal, because I couldn't quite, she wouldn't open her mouth. So I had to get my hand under her belly, and she wanted to slide out of it. And I just didn't want her to come off over something dumb. But,
that's awesome.
That's just what happened. So
cool under pressure. I wish this tournament was televised. I'd like to have seen that one. What do you got, Josh?
So the message board lit up when you said that you use an 8.3 to 1 on a spinner bait. Is there a reason for such a fast reel with a Walmart?
That's snuck past me when you said that. That's a high speed reel for a spinner bait. So you're moving that thing along.
Yeah, you would know. For years I used a 6 to 3 to 1. The key is, for you have to know to vary the speed. It's more, for me, it's more about watching the spinnerbait and knowing what I want it to do rather than feeling it in my hand. So my goal is whatever I'm trying to do, I'm trying to keep that bait right at that point where I can't quite see it, or right where I can see it. That's what I'm trying to do. When I'm coming up on a bush, it's coming from down deep, you slam it into the limb, you kill it, it flutters off the side, and you let it get back down before you reel it, because a lot of them will come out and eat that, just like, they'll eat the spinnerbait when it's falling. It can be a little tricky on hook. You'll get some mess it up because it's not like a jig where they eat it. The blades are in the way when they eat it on that sideways deal. But definitely the speed reel helped me catch up to them, keep up with them. But I would say for somebody going out to learn spinnerbait fishing, 8.3 to 1 is probably not the best pick. I would go with a lower gear ratio, because you have to control the bait. And if you don't know what speed to reel it at, you will reel it too fast and you won't get the bites. The 8.3 to 1s, I just love the hyper mags, and I've just learned to vary with that higher higher ratio speed. I've learned to control how fast I'm winding it. So
it's interesting, because that 20-pound test, in addition to that high speed reel, you have the capability of really moving that bait or catching up to a fish,
ripping their lips.
Yes.
So that was, normally I'm throwing 90% of the time I'm throwing a spinnerbait on 15-pound extra strong, which is, in most other lines, it's probably like 18. It's a much stronger line, the green, moss green color. But this one, I knew they were going to be bush fish, and I knew it was going to get interesting around gum trees. The rocks will beat your bait up if you're trying to keep it down, hitting the rocks. So I was like, we're going to all 20 and get that little bit of extra. The reason why I go with 15 is it's a little smoother casting when you're trying to pinpoint place things. But, the 20 gives you the extra strength and the ripping power and the 8-3-1 reel just to get them away from the bush once they grab it, because you don't want them going back in there, because that you got big problems when they go into 4 buckbrush with 4 sweet gums and it's over. It's just, you got to get them out away from it. So, and timing the cast, and if they're aggressive enough and you think you can do it, you really want them to eat it after it hits the bush and starts coming out. That's the better place for them to eat it. We don't always get to choose, but I had some eat it behind the bush, and they're a little trickier to get out of there. But if you're lucky enough and they bite it once it comes out of the structure, as soon as it comes out, then you don't have as big of a problem. But when they bite it in it, you got to rip them out. And the line, the 20-pound extra strong gave me definitely, I think I didn't break off a fish, and I have over the years broke off fish doing that. Check your line. I've gotten a lot better about that since the tour event cost me possibly winning a tour event on Lake Hartwell when I fished the tour many years ago. I did not check my line flipping bushes like I should have, and it probably cost me winning the tournament because I lost a 7.5 pounder after I've been flipping for an hour without checking my line, and it popped like butter when I set the hook. So anyway, but that's the ups and downs of fishing, though, isn't it?
Yep. That's that's a heartbreak story. We've all been through that, and didn't happen to you this time. I want to ask you this, because the blueback question, blueback herring and shad, right? Kerr's got both. Most lakes do. What is it? It's too early for the bluebacks, right? Are they a factor in your thinking, or was this purely a shad spawn that you were chasing, or what are your thoughts on that?
100%. I was looking shad spawn. I mean, my opinion, the blueback deal is a June deal. That tends to be when we really get on the blueback bite. I don't believe that there's as many bluebacks in Carr as there is Hartwell. I don't know, because I've only been to Hartwell one time, but just from and Clark's Hill, I don't think there's as many bluebacks, but they love a top water on Kerr Lake all times of the year. I think you would have seen some really great top water fishing if the cold nights hadn't been there. I think a buzz bait would have just plastered them. I think guys would have just jammed them up. I know some guys jammed them up on Sunday when it was cloudy and still warm, and I know some guys jammed it up, and it had actually backed off the buzz bait a little bit because of the cold air. But I think it could have been a epic top water tournament if we hadn't had those cold nights. I think it just killed that. But blueback wise, they tend to spawn more, that 80, when they get up higher, 70s, 80s. I think you could have seen some of it this week but the year's been so crazy. I mean, the water temperature that I saw was 61 to 65. It's like we're 1st of April on Kerr Lake, and it's the 1st of May. But there are bluebacks there for sure. But I don't think they're quite as prevalent. I think there's more shad there. The lake has really been healthy with shad, I'd say, for the last 2 to 3 years. You get up there when the shad are up and right around the evenings, and it looks like the wind's blowing on a dead slick night. I mean, they're just everywhere. I mean, last year in the Cat Championship, it was like you went looking for less shad because there was too many shad everywhere else. It was like a fall deal in May, and there was shad just everywhere. I mean, you bring your spinnerbait back, and there was 40 with it every cast. So there's a lot of shad in bugs. I think the shad population has been really done well the last 4 or 5 years. The stripers hadn't eaten them all, but the bluebacks, they're definitely there. But and we'll see that deal come online in June. But I don't think there's as many as the famous blueback lakes. But I'm not a scientist either, so I just go by what I see.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, the water temperature was right for the shad spawn for sure, and the blueback herring has, typically there's, I've fished a Toyota there in June, and it was all about the blueback spawn during that event.
Was that when the one 12 years ago when it was the schoolingest place you'd ever seen in your life?
Yeah, it was.
I can't remember how many years ago, but I swear that year, because we went through about 5 years after that where they did not do that. And I believe truly we've talked about it multiple times. I think they ate them all. That year the schooling was so crazy. I think they ate them all.
Oh man,
we didn't see that for like 5 more years. It was
wow.
We won schooling. The tournaments were getting one schooling all the way through September. They were just jamming them, and I really believe they ate a lot of them. They knocked the population back that year. It was crazy if you were there.
Day one, I had all topwater fish. I had 22 pounds on day one, and the reason why I'm telling you that is just to brag a little bit, because I had such a bad week. I need a little moral support.
Hey, well, here's one good one. You beat me in that tournament. I'll tell you that. How about
that? Well, we're 1-1, I guess, on bugs.
Yeah,
I took my lumps this week.
We'll go for the tiebreaker next time.
All right, deal. I'm in for. I hope they come back. Honestly, Bass has. I think they said 98 was the last time they were there. So it's been forever.
It's been a long time. I think they said 90. Might have been 94. I think it was the old top one for the old one where they used to pair them up, boater on boater. I really believe that was the last time Bass was there, and I think maybe George Cochran won it in the fall. That might be the same tournament, but I'm not sure. I think he may have won it on a Balsa B up in Buffalo. But that was like, I used to hear about that when I was like 5. I mean, it was forever ago. So I think that might be the last time Bass was there, but I'm not 100%.
I love the lake. It's so interesting. It's dynamic. I learned so much this week, and you always do after you have a tough week. Learn so much, and learned so much talking to you about, man, the spinnerbait effectiveness, and I think these fish just chase shad, right? They're living their whole lives chasing shad and herring, and they behave accordingly. And there's a lot of fish there. One of the things I really like about the lake too is it's not as populated. Like, it doesn't get that much pressure as a lot of the other lakes around it. There's not houses on every single stretch of shoreline, so it's pretty cool. You can still fish natural pockets there, which you don't get to see that much.
Yeah, I would say in my 70% of the lake is still fully natural pockets, and it's definitely pretty cool deal to be able to go up there compared to Gaston, where there's a house every 10 feet, which you're fishing boat docks. It's crazy and then that river system, that lake system is unbelievable. You got bugs that is a highland type reservoir and natural cover, flooded bushes. You go to Gaston, it's all docks, some shoreline grass, and then you go to the lake below it is Roanoke Rapids Lake. It's probably one of the best grass lakes in the country. But it's very small. No big tournaments go there. They did do a ultimate match fishing there one time, but it was kind of a bad year for it. But I mean, they've been weighing in 30-pound bags up there in that grass. But it's like literally, it's just crazy to go. You got like a Lake Cumberland on the top, and you've got I don't know, another great dock lake. Well, you go to Smith Mountain, you got a mountain reservoir above Carr, and it's just the clearest water you ever want to see, and it's full of big ones. And then you come a little more, the Highland type on Carr and bushes. And then you go to the next one, it's docks and shoreline grass. And then you go to the last one, it's like a little mini Gunnersville down there. So, and then you come to the river system. So you kind of got a little bit of everything on that river system and it's probably what's, it's taught fishing all those different things is prepared to do when I traveled everywhere. You can do whatever you want to do on those systems. You want to go jam them like Gunnersville, you can go to one of them, and so on and so forth.
Well, it's a great part of the country, and it's for where I'm from, I'm about 5 hours north. It's like our first reservoir that we got exposed to, like classic Southern reservoir looking fishery. So I did a lot of my training there when I was in the early parts of my career, because that's all the tournament trail goes to. So it was good to get that experience. And but I love it down there, Gaston, Kerr, or Smith Mountain. I haven't fished the others, but it sounds like I need to.
follow the river down to the Sound. Albemarle Sound is probably the top fishery on the East Coast.
What?
Absolutely. It's taken 27, 28, 29 pounds. There's been 2 bags over 30 this year weighed in down there. We actually left. We fished a tournament there Saturday morning, and it continued. We won the top Collins Top Gun down there on Saturday, but that fishery, the fishery down there is just, it's unbelievable. I mean, we've been fortunate. Hurricanes will wipe that place out, and we've been fortunate to hold about 8 or 10 years with no bad hurricanes and fish die-offs. And it's just amazing to watch the local tournaments come in. And Bojangles was there a few weeks ago. 29 was first, 28 was second, 27 was third, 21 to get paid. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Rich, we got to put this on our tournament list.
I went there.
Check it out.
I fished there with Scooter this past fall. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it was. We spent the day in the Roanoke, and man, you want to talk about a fishy looking place with some real potential for big ones. It's there, like cypress trees and everything. I mean, I was there kind of it was end of November, and it was a bad cold front, so I was there kind of at the wrong time. But
that's just what Scooter uses as an excuse. I mean, don't give me that.
Well, he was coming off. He was at the deer camp for like 3 weeks before, and he hadn't been out. But he made a little time to get me on the water with him, so I appreciated that big time. But I mean, you want to talk about somewhere that looks like some fun to fish? That's it.
Nice.
That's it.
Yeah, you got to come in March, April, and really get the world, see it all. But yeah, I mean, that was probably one of those days I was yelling at him while he wasn't here putting out corn. He was out playing with you on the water. Thanks for letting me know.
I love it. Well, you've got another big tournament in your future. You're headed to the big dance. What are your thoughts, man? It's got to be a thrill of a lifetime.
Man, I can't even describe the to be able to be given the dream that every tournament fisherman alive wants to go there. And I think like less than 1,000 people have ever fished a classic. To be one of 55 guys or whatever the number is it's just amazing. I'm just going to try to enjoy the moment because, it'll probably never happen again, and just try to go enjoy it and enjoy and appreciate all the people that have supported me and pushed me on and to keep in this thing when many a times I wanted to throw in the towel. But the last time I was ready to throw in the towel, literally I came back from the Bass, when they used to invite the top 10 guys out of the Bass Opens to go fish that I don't remember what it was called. I guess I tried to forget about it, but Bass Fest, that's what it was. It was Bass Fest. So I went out there and I watched Jacob Wheeler win that tournament out there. And I kind of came back from there and I dug myself quite a bit of hole of debt. And I told my wife, I was like, I think I'm done. And I was in a little bit of a depression and best, within reason. But she's like, get out of my house and go to the Potomac River. And so I went up there and actually I remember in practice, a buddy of mine and he was doing most of the daggone practicing because I just was like, I'm just done with it. I'm over it. It's just not meant for me to do this. I got to go to life. Anyway, I won that tournament, and that's what the FLW champion was, a Costa Series at Potomac, and that changed that put me back on this plan of chasing the dream. And went on the tour for a few years. That was a tough roll, a lot of other things going on in life, but it's just I guess it's all come to fruition, and I get to go to the number one tournament in the world. So
yeah,
as long as the Lord letting me fish the next 2 tournaments, that's it. So
I was just going to ask if you were fishing all 9 or just one division.
Just one division.
Yeah, we'll get you there. You give us a call. We will tow you. We will do whatever it takes. You got to show up to the next.
I just got to make a cast.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Then you can go get breakfast. Just make a cast.
So what? The next one is the St. Lawrence, right?
Yep.
Have you ever been up there, pal?
I have. I've been up there 3 or 4 times.
It's a good place to go.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to going back because I have not been there when they really have been jamming them. I was kind of up there right before these 23 pounds every minute you set foot. I was still catching 17, and it was okay.
Yep.
So I'm really looking forward to get back up there. Buddy of mine's going to go up there, and he signed up as a co-angler in it. So we're going to go up there and just have fun because that's, just see what happens. It doesn't even matter. I was talking to a guy yesterday. He's like, well, you can run to the lake. I was like, I can run to the lake, or I can sit at the ramp. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I'll go fishing and enjoy it, but I can, if I break down running to the lake, it doesn't matter. If I, stay at the ramp and don't catch enough fish to do well, then it doesn't really matter. We've accomplished everything that you can accomplish in this division. I mean, bragging rights a little bit maybe, but
that relaxed attitude that you'll probably get right back into the winner circle.
Yeah, right.
I
was just gonna say,
too relaxed, man. It's no pressure. That's an awesome sensation. Did they announce where the classic next year is? Do you know where that is?
Grand Lake.
Grand Lake in Oklahoma.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You might have been asking Richard, but I answered because I know where it is.
Yes,
that's all good.
No, it's that's an amazing fishery. Also, massive amounts of bait fish in that fish factory out there. I'm just thinking of it with respect to a place like Kerr. It has some similarities. I think it's going to be good. It'll be cold. I mean, it gets cold. We had a classic there. I think it never got out of the 20s for the days of competition. So you can sustain some serious cold blasts, but those fish don't care. They seem to bite right through it.
Sure do.
Yeah, I said I was going to put my buddy heater in the boat to have it out there, because if we get those cold fronts, it's going to be brutal. I've watched those classics when it's 15 degrees and you want to just drown yourself. It's so cold. So
it's cold. It is mighty cold. But that's great. Congratulations for making it, man. It was a great win. A dominant performance, and it showed your knowledge of that waterway, your ability to adjust to conditions. Even landing fish. Hand landing fish without your partner there to scream at. So you did good there too. But that's a great win, man. And I really, going to be rooting for you at the Classic. Going to be watching the whole way, and maybe hopefully I'll bump into you up at Thousand Islands.
Well, you got 2 chances at least to get to the Classic. So are you fishing all 9, or are you just fishing the division?
No, I'm just like you. I'm on. They have the EQ, which is the elite qualifiers. You and I are on the CQ,
right?
The Classic qualifiers program. So you got your job done. So hopefully I'll have a shot to get mine done over one of the next 2 deals.
You got 2 more.
2 more. Well, congratulations on your win this weekend. Oh my gosh, just keep it rolling, man. And thanks for being with us. Appreciate it so much. And good luck down the road. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, guys. I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, we loved it. We loved it. Powell Kemp, everybody, the champ. The champ, Joss. The big dub. Man, oh man, he won on a challenging tournament, made it look easy. And it's funny because when we did the call-in, Riz, I couldn't have been more off from my predictions about what it was going to take to win.
Right. Yeah. You were saying what, 15?
I was saying just under 14 a day.
Just under 14 a day, and
he did it in 15 a day, right? Or more than what he had 40.
Well, he had 19 on the first day, so
yeah. What was his total? I think he was in the 40s, right?
Yeah. But
way more than I projected.
Yeah, for sure.
For
sure.
So, man, what a great deal, guys. We're going to be giving away some stuff. Like and share the feed. Get signed up to Bash U. Check it out. We're cranked up. We've got a great cranked up promotion happening right now. So get yourself signed up for an annual subscription, or you can check it out for our 10-day free trial. if you want to dip your toes into it. And I want to do you have the image of the kids that we were talking to?
I do.
Mecklenburg. There they are. The Mecklenburg High School fishing team. We're hanging out with them, me and Ish, at our cabin on Grassy Creek. And the kids were great. They've got like an immense amount of kids on that team. It's like 40 kids and so active in fishing. Loving it. They were telling us all their personal best. And
Cool.
we had a blast hanging out with those guys. Want to give them a shout out. They were all Bass U subscribers. They all their coaches got them all signed up, and they're checking out Bass U TV. And
love to hear it.
And a lot of them were wearing their Bass University colors at the weigh-in. So that's awesome to see.
I got a quick shout out too, kind of for myself. And Ike Foundation. One of the pledges that you take is, it's take a kid fishing or take someone fishing. So yeah. So this past weekend on Sunday, I went out and spent a day fishing in, some unfamiliar water that normally I don't fish at. And these two younger anglers were at the dock, and I could tell they were having problems with their motor. They couldn't get their motor started, couldn't get it running. It was a 14-foot John boat with a casting deck and trolling motor and an outboard motor, but they couldn't get the outboard motor fired up. So I said, "What's going on, guys? You have motor problems?" And I gave them a couple pieces of, well, check this, check that, and check that. And I said, if you don't get it fired up, I'll fish through this pocket. I'll be back in about 30 minutes. You can jump on with me. So I got back, and sure enough, the motor still wasn't fired up, but their parents had dropped them off at the boat ramp with the boat, so they didn't have a trailer to put it back onto. Well, they knew somebody in a cove just around the corner. They were able to tie their boat up, and then they jumped on the boat with me and fished with me all day.
That's awesome.
It was Cody and Keegan got to spend a day and caught some fish. We did some exploring and a couple good little fishermen. So don't forget, take a kid fishing, take somebody fishing that normally wouldn't go. Or I always say, no man left on the bank, right? If you see somebody that's trying to fish and they're having problems, come on, jump on the boat. Let's go fishing. So
love it.
Yeah.
And I also want to give a shout out to Wolf of Walmart, because he caught his personal best too. He had a baby girl this past weekend. Congratulations.
Yay. Congratulations, Wolf. That's awesome. Maybe we have another new fisherman in the bunch.
Maybe.
I certainly hope we do. And good job, Riz. I mean, that's awesome, rescuing those kids and getting them out on the water. We need to get this one out on the water.
We do. Here. Josh, you got to catch some bass.
Yep. This is your year. It's coming. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. Like and share the feed on social, and we're going to be back with our trivia question. We're going to be giving away some stuff. We'll be right back after this.
What's going on? It's Riz here from the Bass University, and I am excited to welcome in Waterwood Custom Baits to the Bass U family. These are custom handmade baits in the South Rainforest of Brazil. They're made of Marupa pedra wood. It's extremely dense. It's resistant, but it's also really buoyant. They're made of quality components with a 100% guarantee. They're made for tournament anglers to get it done when the money is on the line. Guys, that was like my second cast with this bait. That's a Waterwood custom bait. These things are handmade in the rainforest south of Brazil. And I mean, as you can see right here, it's a fish catching bait. It's got the front hook. That means they wanted it. This bait's, it's running really true. It throws really well. Guys, check them out at waterwoodcustombaits.com.
The leader in underwater viewing technology. find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. AquaView. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA. Strongest, lightest rod, 100% bait here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick, every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out doing a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worming series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
On the water, not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together. The One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Welcome back to Bass U Live. It's giveaway time. I love this part of the show. I want to give a shout out to Cortland. I was using the high vis 10-pound test braid, and I was using that for the majority of my practice and during the tournament. And I was on the floating worm pattern, which was really a cool deal. The fish that were up were just coming out of the woodwork. They'd swim 10 feet off the bed to go get it. But you know, like I say, things got tight for me with the cold front setting in, and I did not find that spinnerbait adjustment, which I wished I had. But using a lot of that 10-pound to 12-pound Gamma Fluoro leader, it was just for a couple days, it was a magical weapon. I thought I was going to have a chance to win this one doing that, but conditions change, man. That's the test.
Yep, that's the name of the game.
That's the derby test, man. You got to shuck and jive and move with what's happening out there. And I was looking for that. I went to try to relive that 22-pound bag, you know, that topwater crazy magic that I had so many years ago. And I got some beautiful topwater strikes, but I could not put that. I think that I just missed the spinnerbait, like committing to it as Powell did. I think that was my big error in this tournament, and many others made it too.
It helps, you know, when you have a vast knowledge of a fishery like he does, and you know, it
helps, but you know, it can be as big as a detriment.
It can burn
having
you.
That intimate knowledge can cost you. It's hard to win at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
it
know?
can definitely burn you in the bigger events when you get a lot of fresh eyes out there. But in this one, it sounds like, you know, Powell made the right moves. He was zigging when he was supposed to zig. And he was zagging when he was supposed to zag. So.
And he was picking his backlashes out on a spinnerbait at the exact right time.
That's when you know that's how you know it's meant to be.
Have you ever had? I've had a bite like that on a spinnerbait before, where it's laying on the bottom and you're picking out a backlash, and they come over and pick it up.
I have had the same thing happen, and it's like
rare. It's rare, obviously.
At the most like obscure place everywhere in the world, the Salem Canal. I'm fishing down the bank at the Salem Canal, and I get a professional overrun, and I'm not a professional at all. And I get a backlash. So I turn around and I cast it out into the middle of the canal where there's no fish ever, right? No fish ever in the middle of the Salem Canal. Picking out my backlash, reel it in, and there's a bass on there.
Nope.
Like, come on.
That's awesome. You're living right when you're doing that. So you want to do the trivia question?
Yes. Let's cue up the trivia question. The trivia for today's show. Powell was throwing a spinnerbait at the Open. That's what he said he caught 90% of his fish on, but it wasn't just it wasn't just a normal spinnerbait, do nothing. there was one key element. He had a trailer hook on his spinnerbait. What was the trailer hook of choice that he was throwing? What was the trailer hook Powell was throwing on the back of his spinnerbait?
How closely were you paying attention? Because I did not remember that. Other than he was throwing a trailer hook. And I want to the EQs, the elite qualifier, the contest is
Boom,
starting.
Dan Allen.
Tuak
Gamagatsu.
Tuak Gamagatsu. The EQs is heating up. And John Garrett is leading the points. Tremendous. He's a Bethel University guy, and man, he's dominating after 3 events. He scored 577 points. Pretty damn impressive, John. Congratulations. I wish you the best as the season continues. But our guest from last week, Matt Henry, well, not last week, the week before last, 2 weeks ago, he was in 6th place. Man, just made a brilliant move. He did just like Powell did, where he fished in that muddy water early and was able to capitalize on some bites that were awesome. I was talking to him at the ramp, and he did a great job with only 4 fish on day 1, scoring a nice bag on day 2 and getting in the check line and holding 2nd place in the standings. Congratulations, Matt, man. That's a heck of a deal.
Yep.
Kenta Kimura's 3rd, Wesley Gore, and Ben Milliken, another guest of the show, friend of the show, and I congratulated him personally for his big win at Toledo Bend. I saw him and his wife and the kid, and they were filming down there. It was great to see him and talk to all those folks. But he's holding in 5th place right now. It's heating up. But we've still got 6 events to go, and it's going to be interesting to see how everybody fares in the rest of the season. So shout out to those guys for doing so well. Slow it down a little bit, right? Let the rest of us catch up.
We have a like and share winner. Congratulations, Aaron Blank. You won our like and share. Send me an email.
Congratulations, Aaron. You know what I'm really looking forward to? And I'm looking forward to breaking out my Aqua View for the next event.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
It's going to be
clear water.
It is, and it's smallmouth. It's clear water. It's set up for using that tool, and I'm looking forward to from especially in what I've learned over the last couple of years how to use it to pattern fish and tournament fish. I'm really excited to really put it to work at this next event coming up. Hopefully nobody else uses it except after the tournament. I gotta look at the rule set. Are we allowed to use? I think we are.
You are. Yeah, you're allowed to use it.
During
they are an elite, so I'd assume you're allowed to.
Yeah. Well, I'll be using it. Looking forward to that one coming up, and man, we got a lot of great stuff coming up. We'll be back live next Tuesday. It was great that Mike was able to fill in my absence. And what was he talked about his practice strategy. Riz, number 1 highlight from what Mike is doing to prepare for his tournaments. One thing that sticks out into your brain.
I mean, you just opened up a big can of worms there, because I could talk on this one for probably as long as he did.
You can't do an Epic Eric. You can't be Epic Eric on this one. You got to give me one.
He doesn't pick up a rod.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So he does not,
great one.
In his pre-practice, he does not pick up a rod. He is strictly looking and gaining an intimate knowledge of areas.
Yeah.
And then when he goes back, it allows him to fish freely. And the first bite leads you down the road of the pattern, because now you already know where everything
is laid out. Everything's laid out. Doesn't pick up a rod. Wow, it's both interesting. Both of you guys said that.
Well, because everyone was like, why?
Yeah.
Why not?
It's impossible.
That's so hard for Mike. I know that's impossible.
It's hard for any angler, right? Like I teach people, when you want to learn sonar, lock your rod lockers. Lock them up. Don't, because what happens is you put the trolling motor down and you start fishing and you lose your mind and you forget your purpose of being out there. But if you really want to learn them, do that. But Mike is taking it to a new level, and interesting. Guys, go back and listen to that show. It's available wherever you're listening to this, on podcast or on YouTube or over at bashu.tv. Of course, go check it out there. And that was awesome. It was cool checking in from the water.
Yeah.
Right there. And I told you this story, but I'm gonna tell you guys, there were fish cruising around that pocket where I was coming, talking to you guys from last week. I had a 6-pounder. They were setting up to spawn. That I was like, I can't believe it. Doing the show,
You were already making arrangements for the Classic.
I had a spot. I told Shelly clear a spot off on the counter for the new trophy.
Yeah.
It was like they were, while I was talking, they were just ganging up in there, and then of course they left. They just absolutely evacuated that area. But that's the nature of that fishery. Very dynamic and changing. But a lot of fun coming in from the water, and we'll do it again if I can find some signal up there on Thousand Islands. And look forward to getting GDP back in studio.
Yep.
A lot of great stuff coming. What's releasing this week on Bass U TV? I know.
Yeah, so we just talked about technology a little bit with the AquaView and using forward facing sonar. This week we're releasing John Cruz riding the technology wave in bass fishing, and he really walks the class through the progression of electronics, the progression of equipment, how they got to where they are now, and how he applies how he applies the changes in technology and fishing, and how he stays up to date with things. And that's a really, really informative seminar. So definitely you want to go check that out. And then this week on the water, I'm super excited about this one because I know it's coming right around the corner. It's coming right around the corner. Is buzzbait fishing, and we got the man Andy Montgomery. Buzzbait fishing. That's an on water. That's actually getting released tomorrow. So
it's the first time Andy's taught with us.
Yeah, first time Andy's taught with us, and he did a really nice job. So tomorrow is Andy Montgomery buzzbait fishing, and then Thursday we have John Cruz riding the technology wave. So 2 awesome seminars. If you've been thinking about joining up with the program, now's a great time to do it. You get an awesome gift back for signing up, and you get some awesome content as soon as you get on board.
Yep. Shout out to Strike King. We were able to film with Andy at the Strike King event that took place in Louisiana recently, as well as Greg Hackney, who we just came up with our flipping his top 3 shallow water approaches, which got released last week. He's an amazing instructor as well as a super talented angler, obviously. So go make sure you go and check all that stuff out. And thanks to JC, John Cruz, been with us since day one, as has Ish Monroe, who we're room with this past week. JC hooked me and Ish up through his friend of a friend. We got a secret parking spot at a ramp real close to takeoff.
Nice.
So we were able to get our boats in, get our trucks parked in this top secret private lot. So it's nice to get the royal treatment once in a while. Don't get that very often. Right. So thanks, John, for helping us out, making that happen for us. Appreciate it. And guys, is there anything else that we gotta talk about? Anything else we're giving away?
Nope, that's all. I mean,
next week.
I was reading the Bassmaster, and have you ever used?
I know how you do that.
Worm?
I do.
Well, I thought it was really all right. So a lot of people probably already know this already, but did you know that Aaron Martins was colorblind and he came up with it?
Yeah.
And the colors. How is that possible?
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Only the mind of Aaron could have accomplished that.
Yeah.
I
honestly don't know the science behind that.
Supposedly, like, they would go pre-fishing, in the conversation they would hand him one, and like he would fish with it and be like, it needs a darker or lighter, and that's how they started coming up with the process of how to pick colors, like Morning Dawn and stuff like that.
Right.
I thought that was so interesting.
Yep.
I used Morning Dawn a lot down at this tournament at practice, which was pretty intriguing. And I know Robo actually pours for Missile. Yep. They do a special run where
on the Magic Worm.
Yeah, on the Magic Worm, where Missile and
you
Robo
can get them for 25% off with your Bass U membership.
Go check that and stuff, and tons of stuff is with the AquaView we talked about, and there's so many other things over there. If you haven't checked it out, I know you got a lot of guys use the app. If you haven't used the app, download the app. It's free, and it's a great way to watch Bass U TV. But to take advantage of all the pro offers, all the member benefits, you got to go in through bassu.tv on your browser, and you can get access to all these wonderful programs, including a Rapala VIP program, for VMC Rapala and Storm and all the rest. And there's a lot of other great opportunities to take advantage over there in pro member benefits. We're going to leave you with that. Hope you guys have a great day, great week. The weather's beautiful. It's springtime everywhere where I'm at. And I'm sure it's getting on summer and post-spawn down in Texas and Florida and all those kind of places. And up north, it's pre-spawn still. So you guys are jamming them up. It's a great time to be fishing. If you want to take your fishing to the next level, go to bassu.tv, and we will see all of you guys next Tuesday. Have a great day, everybody.
Pete Gluzak here, Bass University, announcing our partnership with Cortland Braided Line. Very excited to be working with such a long-standing company like Cortland that builds supreme quality lines in a lot of different areas. A lot of people know them in the fly fishing area, but man, the braided lines are phenomenal. This is the Master Braid dyed high visibility lines. I use this for strike detection. It's great castability, toughness, great knot strength. So all the things that we need as bass fishermen, and they've got a really cool line that's called Silent Flip, and it's designed to be more stealthy. Get your baits in that heavy vegetation, that heavy wood cover, in more of a stealthy mode. It's going to help you get a lot more bites. Give it a try. Go check them out. It's Cortland Braided Fishing Line. So proud and happy to be partnering with them at Bass University. If you're a subscriber to Bass University, we're going to have a lot of great opportunities for you to get a hold of some of this line and give it a try. Go check it out. I'm Pete Gluzak for Bass University.
I don't think that